All right, we are live. Happy Friday, everyone. Welcome to today's live stream. Glad you guys are here. Always glad you guys are here. We have fun on these live stream. As you guys know, my name is Gershom Folcott. We are Viva Technologies. And as always, on a Friday, we have Mr. Jason Wong, one of the co-founders of Viva Technologies. Mr. Wong, happy Friday to you, sir.
Hey, happy Friday to all of you, James and Gershom there in the office. Yes, it's been a very very nice week. Oh, by the way, James, can you change my name? Why is it? Why
Yeah,
does
I
it
got
say
you. Yeah,
Jin and Gershom?
yeah, I fix it.
I like both of them, but I don't like them that much. That I
You
want
don't
to
like
change
us
their
that
names.
much. You don't like us that much.
Yeah, to be naming after them. So, but anyway. But we've been having this week crypto has been very very nice in terms of the price action. So I'm sure a lot of our members are very very happy who have been mining with us. It certainly got a lot of people very excited. Our sales for the month of August is trending towards probably another record breaking month. So I was just talking to Gershom earlier before we came on live that everything is pointing at the right direction.
Yeah.
So
No, you're very right. And actually, our first topic for today is going to talk about that. And we're right now, the things that Bitcoin is doing right now mimics what it was doing back in 2016, right? And so we all know what happened in 2017, the year following. Bitcoin hit an all-time high towards the end of the year. And so, right now, the way that Bitcoin is positioned, it's pretty much look like it's doing the same thing. And it's interesting because when you look at the charts in Bitcoin, we go back and look at the history in terms of how Bitcoin flows, what happened before a halving, what happened after a halving, what happened a year after the halving. It all lines up. And so when you think about it that way, the only difference is that the price keep going up, right? Notwithstanding the dips. So the way things are looking right now, there is no reason why Bitcoin will not hit an all-time high next year. And we know the all-time high is 20,000. So at the very least next year, 20,000, right? That's being very conservative because many experts and guys who I believe in, like, Mike Novogratz and guys like that, Anthony Pompliano, Raul Paul, those guys are thinking that, hey, we could actually see an all-time high by the end of this year. Now, I know that sounds a little bit far-fetched because we only have, 3 months left in the year. But the way I've seen Bitcoin perform in the past, going from 11 or 12,000 to 20,000 is not outside possibilities for this asset. What do you think about that, Mr. Wong?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I agree. I mean, we only have another 3+ months left. But with Bitcoins, all you really need is 10 trading days actually for it to hit an all-time high. So that's what happened in 2017. So it is possible that we might even hit it this year. And I'm actually looking at the number of Bitcoin wallets growth rate, and it's been growing month after month. Even during this pandemic lockdown, Q2 of 2020 has a very nice healthy growth compared to the first quarter. So it's definitely growing more and more, and people are turning to crypto for one reason or another. But I believe that more and more people are turning into Bitcoins simply for the fact that they want to diversify their portfolio, which makes a lot of sense to me. And that's what I'm doing personally. And again, I mean, this should not be treated as a financial advice, but a lot of the very, very smart people are doing the same thing. So
yeah, and actually, a lot of the experts are also, a lot of times I don't like to listen to the experts because but these experts are different. We're talking about guys that manage multi-billion-dollar funds and stuff. We're not talking about the weatherman who said the weather's going to be this way tomorrow, and then tomorrow it's a whole different weather pattern, right? But what they're saying, and when you look at all the things that's happening, and we all know what's going on, money printing, all the cheap money flowing to the stock market, zero interest rate, all that stuff, all of that combining to put Bitcoin in a position where it's almost like nothing is impossible, but for Bitcoin not to hit all-time high in the very near future, I don't say it cannot happen, but the point I was going to make is this: there are many of these guys that's thinking that right around Labor Day or right shortly thereafter, we could see some very aggressive move in the price of Bitcoin. So we'll see what happens. We'll see if their analysis is on point. But they're thinking around Labor Day or so, we're going to see some serious, interesting things happen. And Mike Novogratz is thinking that we should hit 14,000 around that time. And then from there, he's thinking that we could easily see 20,000 by the end of the year. So we'll see. And then, you have guys like Anthony Pompliano is thinking that we could easily see $100,000 by the end of next year. But the video that we have today is going to talk about some of those things in terms of, what are the things that's playing out right now that's going to make Bitcoin such a big player in terms of price movement next year. And I think the person that's going to talk about this, I think you guys are going to like what he's have to say in terms of what's going to cause Bitcoin to make that really aggressive move towards 20,000, maybe towards 100,000. But I like everything that's happening right now. It's still the best performing asset so far this year. And even after the 50% pullback when the pandemic was first announced, even though it had a 50% pullback, it still came back and is outperforming the rest of the markets and still being the best performing assets still. So it's a very strong asset class. And I'm just happy and glad that I'm a part of it and I've been a part of it in a big way. I'm sure you are too, Mr. Wong.
Of course. Hey, let me ask you a quick question.
Yes.
If Bitcoin hits 15,000, would you sell?
No. 15?
Yeah, this year.
No.
No? How about 20?
No. No. And here's why. No. Now, remember, I have my core position in Bitcoin, right? And then I have my trading account where I trade Bitcoin, right? So from a trading standpoint, if I'm long, if I'm in a long position and it hits certain points, then I'm taking profits because I know as a trader, when you have a certain price point, then other traders are taking profit and you should expect a retreat in price. So yeah, if I'm in a trade and it hits 15,000, I'll take profit, absolutely. Or 20,000, I'll take profit, absolutely, because I know that other traders are going to take profit, is going to bring the price down, and I want to capitalize on that. But from my mining and my core Bitcoin position from a long-term perspective, no, I'm not touching that. So, I come at it from two different angles. But yeah, so to answer your question, it depends. Trading, yes. My core position in mining, absolutely not. What about you?
Makes a lot of sense. Well, and this is for real. I don't spend nearly as much time as some of you guys in tracking the price movement of Bitcoin. So I don't do trading on in and out position or things like that. But to answer the question, I would not sell at 15,000. I would not sell at 20,000. I might consider selling a small portion if it hits 50.
Okay. You mean a small portion of the many hundreds that you have?
I only have a couple of millions, Bitcoins holdings. Just kidding. Of course not. I wouldn't be here by now. I wouldn't be in my living room doing my my podcast. I would be in somewhere like in front of a in front of a beach house or something like that. Looking at the sunset and and talking to you guys. So
Absolutely, absolutely. But at 15,000, to me, and Bitcoin hit 15,000 is will do a pullback for sure from a trader standpoint, but long term it's just picking up steam at that point. Heading towards 20,000. So at 15,000, I'll be super excited as a trader. I take some profit, but long term, I will know that it's just building up steam to bust through 20,000 and then set an all-time high. And the thing for me is this: once Bitcoin crosses 20,000, then the sky is the limit. I've said that before, and I truly believe that the sky is the limit, because at that point, you don't have any established resistance point ahead of that, right? So once it breaks 20,000, who knows where it's going to go from there before, we see a massive pullback. Because keep in mind, the next high that Bitcoin established is going to come down from there. So we have to expect that also. That's just reality. Moving on. So, Mr. Wong, so we all know, right? I know we are hearing the news, people talking about it. Tesla. So Tesla's been on a tear. And, a lot of people are in love with Tesla. And a lot of people are trading Tesla. They're making a lot of money trading Tesla, right? And it's doing some great things. I mean, I think it's like $2,000 per share right now. So now the argument is, if you are an investor, not from what we do from a mining standpoint, right? We know what we do in mining, and that's a different situation. That's the core. You have to have that. But from a trading standpoint, the conversation now is, if you are investing as a trader, would you be better off getting involved in Bitcoin or Tesla?
Personally,
I'll
tell you personally, even though I actually have listened to these Elon Musk quarterly earning calls before, and I have stay and actually listen to those analysts' questions to the CEO. Tesla just never appealed to me in terms of as an option. So a couple of reasons, right? Tesla to me are truly facing a lot of different competitions from all angles. So you have a lot of those traditional car companies that are moving very rapidly into electric vehicles and as well as self-driving vehicles. So I know Tesla is going to be facing with a lot of competition now. People can argue and say, hey, so is Bitcoin, right? But Bitcoin actually, in my opinion, right now, is the only one that can hold its own. And there are a lot of copycats out there, but none of it has the amount of followers that Bitcoin has. You have Bitcoin Cash, you have Bitcoin Satoshi Vision, Bitcoin SV. These are all hard forked from the original Bitcoin, and none of it, can catch up to the Bitcoin's followers base. So I think from that perspective, Bitcoin is truly a leader in the industry for me as a store of value, right? Tesla, on the other hand, you have a lot of different companies that are actually catching up with its technologies, especially with Tesla is building or already in operation in Shanghai, China. And in China, for a foreign company, if you want to break into the China market, you have to actually either a 50% ownership, local ownership, right, with local investors. And most of those local investors are state-owned entity, which means these technologies will be copied.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, so I even though it is a leader in the electric arena, I don't see it being and continue to be the leader into the long term.
So, do you see Tesla kind of like the shiny object? You know how people get attracted by shiny objects, and they focus on that because I guess it's the next new thing. But the thing that I think Tesla have as far as advantage about over the other car companies who are also in the process of coming out with electric vehicle, I think, my personal opinion, I think they have a better battery technology. So I think they have the edge in their batteries. But I'm with you though. From a personal standpoint, if I have to choose as far as an investment asset, I would definitely choose Bitcoin over Tesla, because think about it. Tesla is in the traditional equity market, right? And we all know that that's a big fat bubble. That's just looking for a pin. It was a big fat bubble before the pandemic came around, and the pandemic was the pin that popped that big fat bubble. And now the Fed blew that bubble up again, even probably bigger. It's going to be bigger than the last one, right? With all the cheap money and zero interest rate and all that. So Tesla is part of that big fat bubble. And so when that big fat bubble bursts again, which many experts believe is going to happen in the not too distant future, so when that big fat bubble bursts again, guess what? Tesla is going to go with it, right? So for now, Tesla may look nice and pretty. It's $2,000 per share and all of that. But I think when this market come down again, as it definitely will, I think we'll see Tesla go with it. And so for me, no. I mean, if you're short-sighted, you may think that way, but from a long-term type person and looking at the fundamentals, I wouldn't do it. But it's an interesting conversation to have for sure, but realistically, no, I would not do that. So
I would not either.
Yeah.
Actually, many companies will go down with these big equity stocks, not just Tesla. I mean, a lot of the companies actually got pumped up during these cheap money cycles.
Yes.
So I don't see any reasons why that Tesla wouldn't come down with it. If you actually you kind of look at the bank stock, it's like a perfect example, right? I mean, there was a recent article that Warren Buffett exited his bank positions.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, so Warren Buffett obviously has a lot of experience into investing in bankings and insurance stocks. So he probably can sense it or smell it before anyone else if there's trouble ahead. So, and that's the reason why he exited and stopped buying into actually a gold mining company. Not just gold, but gold mining.
That's a very good point. Yeah, that's a very good point, Mr. Wong. You think about it, and I've heard Warren Buffett, some of the things that he have said about gold in the past. And he had said that there's no reason for him to invest in gold. He called gold just a big hunk of rock. And he have said so many negative things about gold, right? So you got to think about it. You got to peel by the onions, right, and see what's going on. For someone like that, and Warren Buffett is someone that have a lot of inside information, right? You have to imagine that. And so for someone like Warren Buffett to get out of his bank stocks and get into gold, which he despises gold because he feel like gold doesn't give you any, doesn't pay any dividends, it's this, it's that. So, he's on record to say there's no reason for anyone to invest in gold. And so for him to sell his bank stocks and going into gold, that's a huge tell. So I can understand why people aren't paying attention to that. Like, hello, right? But he also made another excellent point. He didn't go out and buy gold. He invested in a gold mining company.
Right.
Operative word, mining, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, we tell people all the time, look, if you're going to be involved in Bitcoin in this space, you want to be mining Bitcoin, not going out buying it, right? Because
Right.
you look at the example, Warren Buffett pretty much have all the money in the world, right? He could have gone there and buy tons of gold or whatever. No,
Of course.
he invested in a gold mining company. So take it as a lesson, guys. You're in the right space, okay? You're doing the right thing being with us as a Bitcoin miner. Anything to add to that, Mr. Wong?
Well, I just really see that right now. What has changed? I mean, when I look at the drop in March, right? I mean, the cases in the U.S. has not really slowed down, right? If anything, we are actually seeing some acceleration, and many other countries around the world are experiencing second and third waves, right? Yes, vaccine is third stage or stage 3 of its testing, human trial, but really there's not much of a fundamental that has changed other than the fact that the Fed, Reserve Bank, pumped out or print out
That's it.
trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars.
That's
And
it.
that's what artificially inflated the stock market. So, and yeah, a lot of these people are warning that there's going to be another major bubble that is in the making and is going to pop. But the only question is, nobody knows when, right?
Yeah.
I mean, with this second stimulus, is it going to pop before the elections? Probably not, right?
Yeah, I think
The sitting president.
Listen, they will do everything in their powers to make sure that this bubble doesn't pop before the election. But
Right.
as I said before, Mr. Wong, I believe that at some point the Fed will lose control, and no matter what they do and how much they print is not going to help. And I think that day is not too far from now. So will they do everything they possibly can? Print money to buy up everything. I mean, right now they're buying up junk bonds.
Yeah.
They're bidding all these companies. So, and they have gone on record to say, hey, we do whatever it takes, right?
Right.
But at some point, whatever it takes won't be enough. And I think that's what the experts are looking at. We all know that they said they'll do whatever it takes, but also, I think at some point it just won't be enough, and we have to have a correction. And a lot of these companies that needs to go a bank. A lot of these banks just need to go away. They're over leveraged. A lot of these companies, they're borrowing money, buying back their own stocks. There's so many things that's going on. The system is just fraught with fraud, and it has to cleanse. And the problem right now is that the Fed just will not allow the system to cleanse, and the system needs to cleanse. It does need to cleanse and reset. So if we don't do it voluntarily, then I think economic mother nature is going to force it upon us at some point. So we'll see what happens.
So question, we right at the beginning of the show, we're saying that we see everything. I see everything that are pointing at the right direction for Bitcoins to kind of hit another all-time high soon, right?
Mm-hmm.
Here's what I'm seeing. We have more Bitcoin wallets that are being downloaded, right, and adopted, right, and we see more and more institutional players that are coming into the space, right, buying Bitcoins OTC, like over the counter way, right. Now, we also see that the Feds are continuously printing out more money, and we see Warren Buffett exiting these bank stock, which traditionally pays nice and stable dividends, which he likes, right? And
Yes.
I would say that the reason why he exited is because he probably see these dividends at risk, right?
Yeah.
So, and he invested in gold mining companies and businesses, but also here's another big kicker that we have talked about it in the show, but we never really kind of linked them all together, is the Feds finally are allowing banks to
Yes.
hold custodies of Bitcoins. Now think about this
Excellent
for a
point.
second, right? Think about this for a second. Who do you think goes to the Fed and make complaints? You, me? Oh no, we should let the bank hold it. Come on. The bankers themselves went to the Feds and say, you gotta let us do this because we don't
You gotta let us
see
in.
as
You
much
gotta
of a
let us in.
we don't see as much of a, we can't make a spread or profit on the ultra low federal, the Fed rates versus what we can lend them out for, right?
Yes.
In the midst of these economic crisis, less and less people are qualifying for a mortgage or refi. So our major revenues sources are going down rapidly. We need to be able to help our customers, get into something new, right? And the reason why they want to hold custody actually is also this. If you're the bank, you can hold custodies, and what you can also do is to start writing futures contracts,
And you can
option
write
contracts.
derivatives. Mr. Wong,
Exactly.
you on your game, Mr. Wong. I love it. You are on your
Yeah.
game. Yes. Once the bank are allowed to custody cryptocurrency, particularly Bitcoin, then they're allowed to develop these exotic derivative products. Absolutely, 100%. But
That's how they
I
make
want
money.
to touch on. I want to touch on something you said. In terms of the people not being allowed, not qualifying to refi and stuff like that. So the word that I hear is this, and I'm not sure how valid this is, but I would love to hear your thoughts on it. So the bank may end up creating the next crash. And part of the reason for that, they may end up doing it either deliberately or just because of their actions, inadvertently. So the banks want the Fed to lower rates, and the Fed do not want to lower rates because they're already pretty much at zero. But the banks need a bigger spread, right? Right now, you can get a 30-year, maybe 2 something, under 3%, and they want a bigger spread. So they want the Fed to go negative. And I've been saying this, Mr. Wong, I'm going to say this till I blue in the face. We are going to see negative rates. So they want the Fed to go negative. Fed said, no, we can't do that. The banks say, okay, we're going to force you to lower rates because how we're going to do it, we're going to start tightening up our lending standards. And once we start to tighten up our lending standards, that's going to force a lot of home buyers out of the market. And once you start to force home buyers out of the market, the real estate value is going to start coming down, and that could crash the economy. So and they're doing it, they are tightening up their lending standards. So a lot of people don't qualify for mortgage anymore that used to, right? A lot of people can't refinance. That may shake the market. And if that happens, then the idea is then the Fed will have to lower rates. And that will give the bank a bigger spread because the whole thing is they want a bigger spread. And right now they cannot get that spread where the rates are. So we'll see what happened. We'll see if that's true. But the word on the street is that's what's going on right now behind the curtain. They want lower rates. The Feds won't do it. They say, okay, we're going to force you to do it. So we'll see what happens. I kind of want to touch on that. That's kind of like behind the curtain type information stuff. Maybe conspiracy theories, some people like to say. But we'll see how things play out. What say you, Mr. Wong? Does that hold water?
Hey, I think the bank and the bankers are the one that causes every crash. What are you talking about? They might just cause it. They are the one who causes every crash. So
the banks are always doing dirty stuff, man.
They're the one, man.
Yes, they're the ones. The banks. All right, listen, it's time for a video. So this video is again someone that we know and have heard before a few times. I think is one of the smartest guys out there in the space right now that's analyzing, Bitcoin and what's going on from a macro standpoint, right? Raul Paul, right? He, as we all know, he was the managing director for Goldman Sachs, running, a billion-dollar funds and so forth. So he was on like a round table type conversation. And we just have a snippet of the conversation. It was like maybe an hour or so, but this snip that we have is around 4.5 minutes long. And the question that was asked of him is, hey, give us some reasoning as to why you think, because he's thinking that in the next 5 years, we could see Bitcoin at $1 million. And so some of the things he's going to say in this small clip is to kind of set the background, to set the stage, if you will, as to why he believed that, Bitcoin could easily go up. He said this, Bitcoin could go up by the end of the year 100%, right? We shall see. But I think the things that he have to say in this clip is very interesting. And I think you guys would find some value in it. So James, whenever you're ready, sir, please play the video.
Your views on this 10 years from now, where are we?
Look, I agree with the view that, you can back it out versus gold and you get reasonably large numbers. But let's look at it from a different perspective, because I think we're all familiar with that. It's the adoption curve that I think is really interesting to me, is understanding, having been in that institutional investment world and hedge fund world for the last 30 years, I know how they act. And the point being is at $200 billion, which is what it is now, as just Bitcoin, it's not even an asset class, it's noise. But people know that it is serious. They know the players involved, they understand how much work is going on in this, and they understand that it has to be on their radar screens. Now, if Bitcoin goes up 100%, which it could do over the next 2 months, it's kind of well within the realms of normal volatility. Well, it's suddenly a $400 billion asset class, and then a $500 billion asset class, and then it matters. And then everybody is essentially short the upside. And we've seen this before, is they all have to pile in. Now, if you have an understanding of the issues that are embedded within the pension system globally, the pension system is dramatically underfunded. We've now essentially just lost bonds as an asset class, because as they trend towards zero or negative rates, forget the negative rates, red herring, everybody's screaming, oh my God. It's not that, it's that they don't work in a portfolio. There's no offsetting ability. So people are looking at gold, but gold is not so liquid. It's a bit more complicated. It will fit in with portfolios, but Bitcoin has that thing. So everybody's eyeing it. The endowments are there. So that's coming. So you've got to think of it that everybody's short the upside. So if it rises, and more people adopt it and it gets bigger. And then obviously as we go over the next 10 years, I don't think we fully get to the 21 million Bitcoin, but what happens is we stabilize in price, because the stock to flow has changed dramatically at this point.
Sure.
So you end up with a stability, and I think this is where it's all going. In the end, whatever that price is, it becomes the global benchmark collateral for a new digital system. So could that be $1 million? Could it be $10 million? Could it be $500,000? Sure. But the point being is we will unlikely think of it in the terms we think about it today. If you think about the digital currencies that are coming for central banks now, we know the world is about to change dramatically. We know this is everything we're all working on is a dramatic change. So it will be a different way, but I have a feeling that there's a good probability that it's the independent collateral for the new system.
I couldn't agree with you more, and especially here in the States with the OCC just approving federally chartered banks to custody crypto, I think that portends a lot to come, and kind of in a lot of similar veins to what you just said. That's also a great segue to the next question, which is kind of, people are inherently interested in the price, but why is the price so important? Raul, you started to talk about it, so maybe you can sort of start us off, and then if anybody else has any thoughts. I mean, what is it about?
Well, because the price is the manifestation of Metcalfe's law, essentially. So what it's showing us is the adoption and the value of the adoption. So as it's becoming adopted, whether it's by the network effects of money transfer, which I don't think is what Bitcoin's core application is, but as a store of wealth, it's clearly going on. I mean, you know, the proliferation of exchanges, the number of people involved, the rapid growth. So I think the price is a reflection of that. I've always called it a call option on the future of the financial system. It's another way of thinking of it, because if Bitcoin goes up, well, the whole ecosystem from blockchain to Ethereum to Cardano to whatever all grows out from this. And so if those things are going to succeed, Bitcoin will succeed. And therefore, the Bitcoin price is a call option from the whole lot.
Yeah, and
All right. So, we all know Raoul Paul. We've heard him a few times. We understand where he's coming from, but he's really looking at this from a macro standpoint and all the things that's taking place. And if when you step back,
we all know Raoul Paul. We've heard him a few times.
Okay, I'm not sure there was an echo there on my end.
My bad. That was my end.
Okay, cool. So when you think about it, right? When you step back and just take off the bias hat for a second, we all know we're all in the space. We're all, we're Bitcoin miners as far as the company is concerned. We are heavily invested and involved with Bitcoin, right? So we can be somewhat biased in our opinion and our perspective. But when you really step back and look at what's really taking place, there's no way you cannot be bullish for Bitcoin. It's just no way you cannot. Now, I believe that for those who are not bullish on Bitcoin, they're allowing their bias to get in the way. But if you look at this just from a very rational and realistic point of view, everything is lining up for this asset class. You look at the money printing, the zero interest rate, and now you have all these endowments coming in. You have these hedge funds coming in. You have Wall Street coming in. You have the banks want to custody Bitcoin. Like, what else do you need to see to understand where this asset class is going? So when I hear people talk negative about Bitcoin and say, oh, it's a scam or it's this or it's that, I have to chuckle and laugh at them because I'm thinking, you're just not paying attention. You don't have any idea what's going on, because if you step back and you look at all the things that's taking place right now, there's no way you cannot see where this asset class have nowhere to go but up. What say you, Mr. Wong?
I love the video. I think he put it in a very easy to understand kind of language from a high level macro point of view. I agree, because you have all these stuff that are pointing that Bitcoin, to go higher because of all these other these different economic uncertainties and I think he talked about pretty clearly, that the bank needed to make money, right? So he talked about negative rate. So I do see that Bitcoin has, a lot of room to run up. Now, are we going to go up and then come back down? Yes. I mean, that's how Bitcoin has been behaving. So
that's natural.
That's actually probably natural to many different asset class, right? Whether you're talking about stocks or real estate or precious metals and et cetera. I mean, they all, mimic those kind of movements. Just like you said earlier, when it goes up to a certain point, and the traders are going to take profit, and that's going to cause it to kind of cool down a little bit, come down a little bit, and the people are going to start getting back into it. But again, I mean, I this is just personal opinion. I long Bitcoin, so I hold on to them, and I don't trade them. I don't go in and out. I just accumulate them, and that's been my goal. So,
yeah, no, it's a good way to approach it. And one of the things that he was talking about is how the rate of adoption is going to drive the price of Bitcoin. It's going to be a big contributor. And it's not just adoption from the retailers, like you and I, the mom and pop. Certainly, the adoption from the retailers and the mom and pop, that's also increasing. But adoption from, the big players, the hedge funds, the endowments, the Wall Street money, the banking industry, right? That's a different type of adoption. Before, when we talk about adoption, we talk about the everyday people getting involved and using Bitcoin. One of the things that he said, which I tend to understand where he's coming from, is that a lot of people look at Bitcoin and they say, well, it's slow compared to some other cryptocurrencies, but it's not. That's not the point. The point of Bitcoin is a store of value. Where can you put your wealth and have a very high probability chance that your wealth will either be stabilized or go up in value, right? So it's more of a store of value than it is, to use to buy a cup of coffee or to buy, a pack of bubble gum. There are other things that you can use for that. But when it comes to storing your wealth and having immediate access to it, then there's no better asset than Bitcoin. Some people look at gold, and like I said, I'm not one of those persons who, poo-poo gold. I believe in gold. I think if you're going to have a well-balanced portfolio, then you should have some gold in your portfolio, but you cannot have gold as the only thing in your portfolio, because think of it, as far as transportability, as far as accessibility, Bitcoin is it. How can you travel, with $1 million in gold? Or, you can travel anywhere with $1 billion in Bitcoin, because all you need is up here. You log in information. Yeah. That's it. So, go ahead, Mr. Wong.
Yeah, no, the author, also talks about, these big institutional investors that are eyeing Bitcoins because a whole asset class might disappear in front of them. Mm-hmm. Yes. And that's the bond market, right?
That's the bond market. The bond market is in trouble. Yes.
Right. Yes. So if that's the case, where can they put that 25% or 30% or whatever the, percentage of their portfolio value to, right? That's another reason why they're taking a serious look at it. And the adoption rates are going up in terms of those big players.
Now, a question for you, Mr. Wong. Which part of our demographic is heavily invested in bonds? Or retirees?
Correct. Yeah.
And so, because most all pension funds, because they're required to, are heavily vested in the bond market, whether it's muni bonds, government bonds, and all that, right? They are heavily invested in bonds because it's a safe asset. So if the bond market goes, it is going to wipe out a lot of pension funds. And that's something that's been screamed from the rooftop so many times. I'm not sure if people are listening. Pension funds are in serious, serious trouble. And part of the reason is because most pension funds are heavily invested in bonds, and the bonds aren't paying anything. So that's a serious problem. That's a big problem. But moving on, next topic, Mr. Wong, our other friend, Mr. Robert Kiyosaki. So Robert Kiyosaki said, look, you want to be in Bitcoin before the banks start collapsing, right? I think a lot of times, a lot of people, they kind of wait for the crisis before they make their move. And what he's saying is, no, not this time. You don't want to do that. You want to be in position before the banks start crashing. And I certainly adhere to that line of thought, and that's one of the reasons why I'm so glad that we're heavily invested in Bitcoin from a Bitcoin miner's perspective, right? And I'm glad that a lot of our members are as well. So we pretty much are positioned, already before this banking crisis is on our doorstep. But for those of you out there who may be listening to us and may have been thinking about being a part of what we do as Bitcoin miners, you still have some time. But you want to be in position before the crisis happen. You don't want to be trying to make your move in the middle of a crisis. That's not the way you do things, okay? So if you've been on the fence for a long time, thinking about making your move and becoming one of our members and be a Bitcoin miner, you will have time. Now is the time to do it. But I truly believe what Robert Kiyosaki is saying, and I would love to hear your point of view on that, Mr. Wong.
You know, he's one of my favorite authors. I read his book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, when I was freshman year of college, and I truly learned a lot and picked up a lot of good insights and good perspective, on things, right? So when he talks, I pay attention, and I believe, that Bitcoin will be the best performing asset in my personal opinion. So, and right now it's not too late to get in. We always advocate that the best way to do it is really through mining. Just like, why do you think Warren Buffett didn't go out and just buy a couple of tons of gold, and instead he went out and started buying, these, I guess mining companies, right? The same thing. Yeah. I think a lot of it has to do with, tax advantages too, because he can probably accelerate a lot of those depreciations, and get his, more on the write-off side. So, but for a lot of us, the average Joe like us, right here, mining is really the best way to go, because you don't have to worry about that daily price fluctuation, because when Bitcoin price fluctuates, it fluctuates greatly, right? It can go up $500 or it can go down $500 or sometimes $1,000. Yeah, and many of us cannot stomach those kind of ups and downs.
Yeah.
So and that would cause a lot of mistakes to be made and end up losing money. So I don't, most of the time I don't even look at it. I just know that I'm happy that every day my machine produces, a little bit of Bitcoins every day. That's how I go about it.
All you need. That's all you need. Yeah, that's the security and peace of mind that you need. But I want to read something to you. So Robert Kiyosaki tweeted something the other day. This is what he says. He said, "Why do Buffett out of banks? Because banks go bankrupt. There's a major banking crisis coming, and it's coming fast. The Fed and Treasury is going to take over the banking system. The Fed and Treasury is printing helicopter money direct to the people to avoid mass rioting." And I've said it before, all the stimulus check and all that is just to keep you pacified. Okay? This is no time to think about it. How much gold, silver, and Bitcoin do you have? So that's my question to you guys out there. No is not the time to think about it. How much Bitcoin do you have in your portfolio? Do you have a mining package with us? Just a question. It is just a question. With that being said, Mr. Wong, we are going to wrap it up, sir. Any last words for the people out there, my friend?
Hey, stay safe, guys, and enjoy your weekend. I know I know I'm going to enjoy it because I just really like, what's been going on with our company. We just sold 2 more black diamond packages, so people are coming in very aggressively.
Why
I just saw that coming through.
2 diamond package?
I just saw it through our Telegram.
Wow.
So people
That's
are
awesome.
loving our mining packages. So check it out, guys.
All right, guys. Once again, it's always happy to see you guys here. We love you guys so much. You have no idea. But yes, we're going to wrap it up. You guys have yourself a wonderful weekend. And for those of you who have heard about us but not too familiar with us, definitely go to our website, vbitmining.com or vbitopportunity.com. Both websites are very beautiful. A lot of information to find out about the company, what we do. Or if you know someone that's a member of the company, reach out to them. Let them explain to you what we do and how you can be involved with us, and make sure that you are positioning yourself before this crisis is on your doorstep, okay? Don't say you weren't warned. All right, with that being said, my friends, we're going to wrap it up. We'll see you guys on Monday, 5:30 for the next live stream. Have a great weekend. See you guys on Monday.